Chateau. 5 tax secrets. Your Uber accountant will never tell you. Exposed. Hashtag hook 00 What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this video, the IRS owes you money? I'm talking about $2,400 that gig drivers overpay every single year because nobody, not Uber, not Lyft, not even most accountants, bothers to explain these deductions. That's not a typo. $2,400 annually, just vanishing from your bank account because the people who should be helping you either don't understand gig work or, honestly, don't care enough to learn. Here's what makes me furious about this whole situation. I've talked to hundreds of drivers who hand over their tax documents to a CPA, pay $200 or $300 for the service, and walk away thinking they got professional help. But most traditional accountants treat gig workers like they're regular W-2 employees with a side hustle. They don't get it. They've never sat in a hot car for 8 hours waiting for pings. They've never calculated whether that airport run was actually profitable after gas. And because they don't understand your world, they leave thousands of dollars on the table. Your dollars. Today we're fixing that. Hashtag intro. Euro 45 to 12. Let me paint you a picture of how broken this system really is. Last year, I met a driver named Marcus who'd been doing Uber full-time for 4 years. 4 years of 12-hour days, thousands of rides, and he'd been paying a local accountant the entire time. When I asked him about his actual deductions, he mentioned the standard mileage rate, and that was it, just mileage. This guy was sitting on a goldmine of legitimate tax write-offs, and his so-called professional had captured maybe 30% of them. When we went through everything together, we found over $3,000 in missed deductions from the previous year alone. $3,000 that Marcus could have kept in his pocket instead of sending to Uncle Sam. The problem isn't that accountants are bad people. The problem is that gig economy taxes exist in this weird gray zone that traditional tax education doesn't cover. Most CPAs learned their craft handling small businesses with employees, inventory, and physical locations. Your car isn't inventory, your phone isn't a cash register in the traditional sense, and the app-based nature of what you do creates deduction opportunities that simply don't exist in other industries. So unless your accountant specializes in gig work, and almost none of them do, you're essentially getting advice designed for a completely different type of business. Today, I'm giving you the 5 secrets that will change how you approach tax season forever. 1. The phone bill deduction. Nobody mentions 2 host to mock to 330. Let's start with something you use every single minute you're working, but probably never thought to deduct properly, your phone. Now, your accountant might have told you that you can write off a portion of your phone bill. Great, basic stuff, but here's what they didn't tell you, and this is where it gets interesting. You can also depreciate the actual phone itself as a business asset, and if you bought any accessories specifically for work, those are deductible too. We're talking car mounts, charging cables that live in your vehicle, portable battery packs, and even screen protectors, since a cracked screen could cost you money when passengers see it. Here's how a driver named Keisha approached this last year. She bought a new iPhone specifically because her old phone was too slow for the apps. That $800 phone? She depreciated it as a business asset. Her phone mount cost $30, her car charger was $15, and she bought a heavy-duty case for $45 because phones take a beating in gig work. That's almost $900 in deductions just from phone-related expenses. But it gets better. She calculated that she uses her phone for work about 60% of the time, based on her hours driving versus personal use. So 60% of her monthly phone bill, which was $80, became a $48 monthly deduction. Over the year, that's an additional $576. Most accountants will nod along if you bring this up, but they won't proactively ask about it. Why? Because it requires actually understanding how gig work functions day to day. They're not going to ask about your phone mount. They're not thinking about your charging cables, but you should be, because these small deductions add up to hundreds of dollars every single year. 2. The home office loophole for drivers. 335 $12. Now, this one might surprise you because you've probably heard that gig drivers can't take a home office deduction. After all, you work in your car, right? Well, yes and no. While you can't deduct a home office for the actual driving portion of your work, there's a significant amount of administrative work that happens at home, and that absolutely qualifies. Think about it. Where do you track your mileage? Where do you check your earnings and plan your schedule? Where do you review your ratings and respond to Uber or Lyft communications? All of that happens at home, at a desk, or on your couch, and it counts as business activity. The IRS allows you to deduct home office expenses if you have a dedicated space used regularly and exclusively for business. This doesn't mean you need a separate room with a door. A dedicated desk in the corner of your bedroom qualifies as long as you don't use it for personal activities. I know a driver named Jerome who set up a small desk in his apartment specifically for his gig work administration. He tracks his miles there, reviews his tax documents, and plans his weekly driving schedule. His apartment is 900 square feet, and his desk area takes up about 50 square feet. That's roughly 5.5% of his home that he uses for business. Jerome's monthly rent is $1,400 plus $200 in utilities. 5.5% of that $1,600 is $88 monthly in home office deductions he can take. That's over $1,000 annually that most drivers never claim. Now, you need to be honest about this. The space really does need to be dedicated to work. But if you set up even a small area for your gig business administration, this deduction becomes completely legitimate and surprisingly valuable. 3. The health insurance premium secret, 502-630. This third secret is the one that genuinely makes me angry because it affects so many drivers and almost nobody knows about it. If you're a full-time gig worker and you pay for your own health insurance, you can deduct 100% of your premium costs, and this isn't even an itemized deduction. It comes directly off your gross income, which means it reduces your taxable income dollar for dollar. We're talking about potentially thousands of dollars here, and I've met drivers who've never heard this mentioned once. Here's the situation. A driver named Angela pays $520 per month for a marketplace health insurance plan. She's been doing this for 3 years, and not once did her previous accountant mention that this was fully deductible. That's $6,240 per year that should have been subtracted from her income before calculating taxes. At her tax bracket, that oversight was costing her roughly $1,500 in unnecessary taxes annually. Multiply that by 3 years, and Angela essentially donated $4,500 to the government that she didn't owe. This particular secret alone can be worth more than all the others combined if you're paying for individual health coverage. Now, there are some requirements here. You need to have a net profit from your gig work, you can't be eligible for an employer-sponsored plan through a spouse's job, and the deduction can't exceed your business income. But for most full-time gig workers buying their own insurance, this applies. And honestly, any accountant who works with gig economy clients should be asking about health insurance on day one. If yours didn't, that tells you something about their expertise level. 4. The car wash and detail deduction, 630 to 730. Let me ask you something. How often do you wash your car? Weekly? Maybe every couple of weeks? Every single one of those car washes is a tax deduction that you're probably not tracking. Here's the logic. Passenger ratings directly impact your ability to earn money on these platforms. A clean car equals better ratings, equals more ride requests, equals higher income. That makes car washes a legitimate business expense, and the same logic applies to detailing services, air fresheners, floor mats, seat covers, and anything else you use to maintain a pleasant passenger experience. I've been using a comprehensive tracking spreadsheet that I actually created specifically for gig workers, and you can find it at georadix.gumroad.com, LWSADJD. It helps you capture all these small deductions that slip through the cracks, because most people don't think of them as business expenses. When you add up 12 car washes at $15 each, 4 interior cleanings at $30 plus air fresheners, floor mats, and other maintenance items, you're easily looking at $300 to $400 in annual deductions. Small? Maybe. But combined with everything else we've discussed, these small amounts become a substantial tax reduction. 5. The banking and financial fees write-off, 730, 830. Here's the final secret that almost nobody discusses. Every financial service you use specifically for your gig work is deductible.